I remember the exact moment I got the email. It was a Thursday morning. I was just finishing my coffee when the subject line popped up. Offer letter, position in Riyadh, KSA. I froze. For some context, I'm from the UK, East London, born and raised, Ghanaian roots. I work in IT, cloud infrastructure mostly, and when I applied to work in Saudi Arabia, I didn't think they'd even look at my CV, let alone offer me a 2-year contract with full relocation. The pay was mad, accommodation included, private health insurance, even the flights. It was one of those offers you dream about. But the moment I told people, especially other Muslims, the first thing I heard wasn't congratulations or mashallah. It was, are you sure you want to go there? And the way they said it, it wasn't about safety or family or culture shock. It was about race. I had brothers tell me straight, bro, they don't treat black people well out there. Trust me, they're so racist, especially if you're not Arab. They'll treat you like a second-class Muslim. Asians and Africans get zero respect from them. One brother, Pakistani, had spent a few months teaching in Medina. He told me, I've never felt so disrespected in my life. They talk down to you like you're not even human. Unless you're white, Arab, or rich, they don't rate you. And I'll be real, that stuff started getting to me. The excitement turned into hesitation. I started scrolling through Reddit, Twitter, YouTube, trying to find real accounts from people who'd worked there. I came across horror stories, especially from brothers and sisters working domestic jobs. People from Bangladesh, the Philippines, Sudan, Somalia. Stories of being treated badly, of racism, abuse, humiliation. And I'm not here to deny that those things don't happen. Allah knows best, and I'm sure they do. The world isn't perfect, and people definitely aren't, but I started asking myself, is it really that bad? Or are we just recycling the worst stories and painting the whole place with the same brush? So I prayed about it. I spoke to my mom, and she told me something I'll never forget. She said, don't judge a people before you've met them. Don't call a place your enemy when your feet haven't even touched its soil. My dear brothers and sisters, subhanallah, if you're hearing this, Allah has placed a yearning in your heart, a call to live a life where your deen shines bright, unburdened by the fitna of this dunya. Are you feeling that pull, that restlessness to find a righteous spouse in a land where your deen thrives? Or a parent yearning to raise your children speaking Arabic in Muslim Arab countries like Tunisia, Oman, Algeria, or Saudi Arabia, where they are not only surrounded by the deen, but the Arabic language bringing the Quran's words to life. Or perhaps you're drawn to the Muslim lands of Asia, like Indonesia or Malaysia, to protect your faith. I wrote 5 practical steps to plan your hijrah, to guide you to a life rooted in the deen, inshallah. This ebook isn't just advice, it's a roadmap. Learn to purify your intention, choose a land that nurtures your soul, secure halal income, and prepare yourself and your family spiritually. Whether you seek a spouse, a safe home for your kids, or a place to preserve your deen, these steps are your guide. And like your brother in Islam, I'm sharing this wisdom with you as if we were doing it over a cup of mint green tea, my favorite. Don't let fear hold you back. Purchase 5 practical steps to plan your hijrah now by clicking the link below. Start your journey to a new life, inshallah. Act today. Your deen and family deserve it. So I took the job. I packed my bags, I booked my ticket, I flew out from Heathrow on a hot June evening. 7 hours later, I landed in Riyadh. That's when everything I'd been told started to unravel. From the moment I stepped into immigration, I was bracing myself. I expected side eyes, coldness, maybe questions or delays. Instead, the officer looked at my passport, gave me a nod, smiled, and welcomed me. No drama, no tension. The baggage guy, local dude in a white robe and sandals, took my luggage without me even asking. I tried to take it from him, and he said something like, "You're a guest." He walked me out to the taxi area, refused a tip, and made a quiet prayer for me before he left. And that's when it hit me. I hadn't even stepped out of the airport, and already this was not the place people had warned me about. My company had put me in a service flat for the first 2 weeks while my paperwork was being sorted. The HR rep, a Saudi, made sure I had Wi-Fi, groceries, a working SIM card, all within hours. I didn't even have to follow up. Everything just got done. At work, I was the only black guy in my department. I was expecting some awkwardness, maybe people avoiding me. But nothing like that happened. The brothers there treated me like I was one of them. Not once did anyone make a comment about my skin or where I was from. No backhanded compliments, no weird curiosity, just straight up professionalism. And more than that, brotherhood. One day after the midday prayer, I was heading back to my desk when one of the guys waved me over. "Come eat with us," he said. I told him I already had food, and he replied, "No, we all eat together." They laid out food in the meeting room. Huge trays of rice and chicken, yogurt, dates, juice. We all sat on the carpet, eating with our hands, laughing, joking, some in English, some in their local dialects. They didn't just include me, they welcomed me, fully. Then there was the weekend I got invited to one of their homes. This was out in the outskirts of Riyadh, proper local neighborhood. Palm trees, goats walking around, dusty roads. I was nervous. I thought maybe they'd treat me differently once I was outside the office, like once I'm not in that professional setting, things might change. Subhanallah, it was the complete opposite. His father hugged me, his little sister poured me tea and offered me dates. His mum came out just to say hello and check if I was comfortable. They served a proper feast. Lamb, rice, salad, fruit, juices, and the whole time they kept telling me, "You're our brother. It doesn't matter where you're from. There's no difference between us except in how we obey Allah." That moment really hit me. Everything I'd been told about Saudis being cold, arrogant, or racist, it just didn't match what I was experiencing. Were there bad apples in the country? Of course, just like there are in every place. But the average Saudi I met, he lived the deen. He carried the manners of a Muslim, not with flowery words, but with actions, hospitality, generosity, real character. And that's when I started to think, maybe we've got it wrong. Maybe we've been fed a narrative that doesn't represent the full truth. As I settled into life in Riyadh, I kept thinking about all the warnings I'd been given before I came, the comments, the stories, the clips I saw online. Saudis are racist. They look down on Asians and Africans. They'll never treat you like one of them. At first, I didn't know what to do with all that. But now that I was actually here, living among them, I started asking a different question. Where does this stereotype even come from? Because what I was seeing day to day just didn't line up. I wasn't being mistreated. I wasn't being ignored. I wasn't being spoken down to. In fact, I was probably being shown more hospitality than I'd ever experienced anywhere else in my life. So why the bad reputation? I think part of it is misunderstanding. Saudi culture is different. It's conservative, reserved. Some of the people there don't smile at strangers right away. They're not always soft-spoken. They might not make small talk in the way we're used to in the West. But that's not racism. That's just a different social code. And once I started to pick up on it, how they show respect, how they express warmth, I realized it's more about sincerity than performance. When they accept you, they really accept you. It's not shallow, it's deep, and it's tied to the deen. Another reason for the bad image might be class dynamics. Saudi Arabia has a massive number of foreign workers, millions actually. A lot of them are from South Asia, East Africa, and Southeast Asia. They're working in hard physical jobs, construction, cleaning, driving, domestic help. And yes, some of them are mistreated. That's a sad reality, no doubt about it. But here's where I think the conversation gets lazy. People take the mistreatment of those workers, and instead of calling out the real issue, power, arrogance, injustice, they say, "This proves Saudis are racist." But that logic doesn't sit right with me. There are migrant workers being underpaid and overworked in Europe, in America, in Asia. There's abuse in hotels and restaurants and factories across the whole world. You don't hear people saying, all British people are racist because a Pakistani cleaner got treated badly in London. So why do we say that about Saudis? Even worse, we ignore the thousands, maybe millions of Saudi families who treat their workers with kindness and respect. I personally visited a home where their housemaid had her own room, her own schedule, and was treated like an auntie to the kids. The father said to me, "If I wrong someone under my care, what will I say to Allah?" That's the mindset I kept seeing again and again. And yet, no one talks about those families. The internet doesn't go viral over quiet goodness. But if someone records a video of a spoiled rich kid yelling at a driver, suddenly it's, "This is how all Saudis are." That's not fair. That's not justice. Let me tell you about a moment that really changed how I thought about all this. It was a Friday afternoon. I had gone to pray at a local masjid in a rougher part of town, not a fancy place, no big chandeliers, just a simple building with an old carpet and a fan spinning overhead. I wasn't dressed in anything traditional, just jeans and a shirt. I definitely stood out. As soon as I walked in, one of the older men, white beard, serious face, stood up from the front row and waved me over. He moved his bag out of the way and gestured for me to sit next to him. After the prayer, he shook my hand and greeted me with full warmth. I told him I was new in town, and he literally took me by the arm, walked me across the road, and bought me lunch from a little corner restaurant. No overthinking, no hesitation, just simple, powerful hospitality. I remember sitting across from him, eating grilled chicken and rice, thinking, how did we end up believing these people hate us? That moment reminded me of something I heard growing up. That true Muslim character is shown in how you treat strangers, guests, and workers. And I was seeing that here, in a place I'd been warned to avoid. The truth is, a lot of us arrive in Saudi with our guards up. We expect to be treated badly, so we interpret every neutral moment as hostile. We assume coldness when someone's just shy. We hear a firm voice and think it's disrespect. We get so used to being judged in other places that we bring that same energy with us. But subhanallah, sometimes the problem isn't them, it's our own expectations. Now don't get me wrong, racism exists. There are people in Saudi who carry bad attitudes. There are people in every country who have that disease in their heart. But to take that and use it to define a whole population of Muslims, that's a major stretch. And I'll be honest with you, I've faced more racism in Muslim communities in the West than I ever did in Saudi. I've had aunties in the UK tell their daughters not to marry black brothers. I've seen brothers get sidelined in the masjid because of their skin color or accent. I've heard jokes from educated Muslims that made me sick. But for some reason, people ignore all that and aim their fire at Saudis. We need to be real with ourselves. If we say we care about justice, we need to be fair in how we talk about others. Allah says in the Quran not to let hatred or bias lead us away from fairness. That applies even when we think we're speaking out on behalf of the oppressed. And part of fairness is acknowledging that many Saudis are beautiful people. Generous, kind, soft-hearted, religious, quietly humble. They might not film their good deeds for clout, but if you sit with them, eat with them, visit their homes, you'll see it, you'll feel it. And that's what I want people to know. My experience wasn't fake, it wasn't PR. I wasn't living in some luxury compound shielded from the real Saudi. I was in the real Saudi, in the markets, in the masjids, in homes, at work, day in, day out. And mashallah, the people I met were some of the most genuine Muslims I've ever come across. So now, when I hear people repeating that line, Saudis are racist, I don't stay silent. I say, have you ever been there? Because if you haven't, maybe it's time you stop talking about them and start going to see for yourself. Salamu alaikum, my dear brothers and sisters. Want to strengthen our ummah and support this channel? Become a channel member today, inshallah. Your membership fuels my mission to build a vibrant Muslim community, sharing stories and knowledge that we can all learn from. Your generosity reflects the nature of charity we Muslims have in our hearts, alhamdulillah. Choose a tier and enjoy exclusive perks like members-only videos and special shout-outs. Together, let's grow this blessed community. Click join now and be part of something special. By my third month in Saudi Arabia, something changed in me. Not just how I viewed the people, but how I viewed the deen itself. Because what I experienced in that country wasn't just good manners. It wasn't just clean streets, warm weather, or strong coffee. It was the feeling of being surrounded by Muslims who, for all their faults, still had deen in their bones. It was the call to prayer echoing across every corner of the city and people actually responding to it. It was seeing shopkeepers close up 5 minutes before the prayer and rush to the masjid without hesitation. It was the security guard who paused mid-sentence to say, Subhanallah, because something reminded him of Allah. It was the taxi driver who played Quran instead of music, not to look pious, but because that's what soothed his heart. That's what changed me. And what blew my mind was that this was all coming from the same people I was warned about, the people I was told would hate me because of my skin, the ones I was told to fear, but those people ended up treating me better than most Muslims I've known in my life. It made me reflect on how quick we are to believe the worst about others, especially when those others have money or power or status. Let's be honest, it's easy to look at Saudi Arabia and be critical. It's a wealthy country. It's the home of Makkah and Medina. It's got oil money, big buildings, expensive cars, and with all of that comes the usual mix of jealousy, suspicion, and resentment. But sometimes we confuse power with pride. We mistake confidence for arrogance, and we use negative experiences, real or exaggerated, as an excuse to throw an entire nation under the bus. I get it. I really do. It's frustrating when you hear stories of maids being abused or migrant workers not being paid fairly. That stuff should make us angry. That stuff should be called out, and I'm not here to deny any of it. But don't twist that anger into a blanket judgment of millions of people. Don't turn it into a lie that gets passed around without proof. Because when you do that, you're not just being unfair to them, you're poisoning your own heart too. Allah tells us to think well of our brothers and sisters, to give the benefit of the doubt, to speak with truth and fairness. So what are we doing when we generalize and slander? What are we doing when we say Saudis are racist, as if that's some sort of default fact? Have some of them made mistakes? Of course. So have Pakistanis, so have Nigerians, so have Turks, Somalis, Egyptians, and every other group in this ummah. That doesn't mean we throw out the whole lot. You wouldn't want to be judged by the worst version of your own people. So why do that to someone else? Let me share a final story before I wrap this up. The day I left Riyadh, it was the end of my contract. 2 years had flown by. I was at the airport with my suitcase and a carry-on, just waiting for check-in to open. I was standing off to the side when one of the airport staff approached me, young guy, probably early 20s. He asked where I was from, and I told him, London, but originally from Ghana. Straight away, his face lit up. He started telling me about the Ghanaian brothers he used to study with at university, how much he loved the culture, the food, the strength of their deen. He walked with me to the counter, made sure my bags were checked in smoothly, and before he left, he said, "You're our brother, not just because you're Muslim, but because your heart is clean. Come back any time." That stayed with me, because that's how it always was. I never had to prove myself. Never had to act extra polite, never had to hide who I was. I was a black Muslim man, and they made space for me, not out of pity, not as a favor, but because it was the natural thing to do. They saw me as their brother, and mashallah, they made me feel like I belonged. So now, when people say to me, "Bro, are you serious? You really liked Saudi?" I say, more than liked. I respected it. And when they try to argue, I tell them this: go see it for yourself. Go walk through the markets in Medina. Go pray shoulder to shoulder with an old man in a masjid outside Riyadh. Go eat with locals during Ramadan. Go see how they treat guests, how they serve coffee, how they remember Allah in the middle of the most ordinary things. Then come back and tell me what you saw. If you had a bad experience, that's real. I won't take that from you. But don't try to make your story the whole story, and don't expect me to deny what I lived with my own eyes. Because wallahi, what I saw was the opposite of racism. What I saw was hospitality, humility, faith, brotherhood. What I saw was Islam in practice, and I'll keep saying it until people listen. Stop talking about Saudis like you've been there. Stop repeating things you heard online. Book your flight, visit the country, meet the people, and then speak. That's the only way you'll know the truth. Inshallah, may we all learn to see with our hearts instead of just our assumptions. Alright mates, I've just finished reading Abdullah's story, and subhanallah, it really made me sit back and reflect. You know how some people always say, Saudis and the rest of the GCC countries are racist, like it's a given, like it's some undeniable truth? Well, Abdullah's story proves just how wrong that narrative can be. This wasn't a man who went there looking for comfort. He went expecting cold shoulders, maybe even mistreatment. That's what people warned him about. But what he found instead, it was brotherhood, respect, a warm welcome that left him speechless. And that hit home for me too. As a Libyan, every single time I've came across Saudis and mentioned where I'm from, the reaction is instant. When I say my last name is Gaddafi and that I'm from the tribe of Anizar, they light up. They say, Libyans? You're the closest to us. Same culture, same traditions, same dialect, and you feel that connection, wallahi. You feel it in how they treat you, how they open their homes and hearts. It's not just words, it's real hospitality, the kind that sticks with you long after you leave. So when Abdullah said he challenges anyone who speaks bad about Saudis to go and see it for themselves, I couldn't agree more. You can't judge a people based on Twitter threads and hearsay. Go there, walk their streets, pray in their mosques, sit in their gatherings, and then tell me what you saw with your own eyes. And look, I know some of you are thinking about Hijrah, not because you think Saudi is perfect, but because you're craving that environment, somewhere the deen is alive, somewhere you can feel close to Allah without all the distractions and filth of the West. Hijrah isn't about running away, it's about turning towards something better, something cleaner, something that might actually help you build the kind of life you've been begging Allah for in prayer. That's why I put together something I hope will benefit you. 5 practical steps to plan your Hijrah, a Muslim's guide to a faithful new start. It's simple, and it's written for brothers and sisters who are ready to stop talking and start planning. Link is below. Grab your copy, inshallah. And if Abdullah's story reminded you of your own hopes, your own fears, or maybe your own past, drop a comment. Have you made your Hijrah yet? Or are you still thinking about it? Let's talk. More stories coming soon, inshallah.